Welcome back. Let's build our first website. Now, I've already created a folder called web server because this is going to be our web server for now. And inside of this web server, we have an index.html file, which will be the extension for creating an HTML file. We have script.js, which is the extension for writing JavaScript, just like we have .py for writing Python. And then we have style.css for writing CSS styles. Now, in this section, I'm going to be using Sublime Text and my iTerm terminal, but you can use whatever developer tool that you want. I like using these ones just for the screen recordings. They help because, well, it's nice and clean. It doesn't give me too many hints so that I can also make errors and show you along as I make errors how I fix them. But again, you can use Visual Studio Code, whatever you prefer. Now, you see over here that all these files are empty. But remember, a web server simply gives these three files to a browser so that the browser can display the page. So let's start off with HTML. How do we write HTML? Well, Sublime Text actually lets me do something interesting here. If I type in HTML and then hit Tab, it autofills it for me. All right, I kind of cheated, but hey, I don't want to bore you to death. So this is a standard HTML file. Because I have the .html extension, if I have this type of syntax, I can write HTML. And it's not that difficult. We have opening tags and closing tags with the backslash here. So we have the head of the website with the title. So this is what appears on the tab. So let's say my website. Very creative. So that's the head and then the body. This is what gets displayed on a website. So in here, I can say, I am a webmaster. Just like that. And we've created our HTML file. Now, check this out. If I now open index.html, if I right click here and let's say, open in new window. Or you can even just go and double click this file. So if I double click this, look at that. I am a webmaster. Just simple text, nothing too crazy, but I've just created my first website. Let's continue with CSS. CSS has a different syntax than HTML. CSS syntax goes something like this. We can give it what HTML element we want to add some styling to. In our case, let's say body. And I can say body, then curly brackets. And in here, I want to have background, let's say color, and we'll go with, let's go with green. If I save this and I refresh the page, nothing happened. And this is a little small detail that, again, this isn't a web development course, so we don't need to worry too much about. But essentially, the very first thing that happens is that the HTML file gets sent, and the HTML file is actually the only thing that gets read by the browser. So within the HTML file, I have to say, hey, HTML, by the way, we also have a CSS file. Can you also use that in the website? So we can do that in the head tag by using something called a link tag. So a link tag, we can actually remove some of this. We simply have to say, hey, it's a type of text CSS, and it has something called href. Href simply says, hey, where is this file located? In our case, because it's in the same folder as our index.html, we can simply say it's style.css because, well, just look for style.css and that's where the style file is. And now, if you remember, we also had the relationship style sheet that we need to include. I just removed it so that we can see what we're writing over here. So if we do style sheet, and this is just something, a syntax that you have to get used to if you want to include a CSS file. If I save this and go back and refresh, hey, look at that. my ugly website, let's make it a little bit bigger. My ugly website with a green background color now has some style. If I open up the developer tools once again, and I hit refresh, look at that. I get an HTML file and a CSS file. Awesome. So I just created my own web server, right? We could even write JavaScript here, but again, this isn't a JavaScript course, so we don't need to worry about it. In this case, here you go. I just wrote some JavaScript, which this is kind of like writing print in Python. If I refresh the page one more time, again, JavaScript file doesn't get displayed because, well, we have to, again, tell index.html that we need a JavaScript file. And usually, JavaScript files are contained in a script tag, usually at the bottom of the body. So let's close that. And then in here, instead of using the href, we just have to say src for source. And then once again, where's the JavaScript file? It's at script.js. So if I save this and I refresh the page, look at that. We're now loading the script.js file. And all it's doing is if we click on the console tab is, there you go. It printed something in the console, and console is something that JavaScript uses. But all we care about is that we're able to serve these 3 files. What we've done is created our very first server. But you may have noticed something. When you went up over here, look at the URL path that we have. That's not what you usually type into a website, right? I mean, we saw that the website over here, xkcd.com, well, has the .com, uses HTTP. That's a real URL, right? Well, I'm sorry to tell you that we didn't actually create a real web server, because all we've done is we've served to the browser some files from, as you can see, from our computer. So all it's doing is the browser saying, hey, I'm going to display these files that are located right here on your computer. So essentially, we have a web server that's also running a browser, but that's not how real life works. Why would that be? Well, imagine if you had your own website. Do you really want to have people from all over the world access your website directly through your computer, grabbing the files from your computer? I mean, no, right? There's a lot of security issues. There's a lot of issues with performance. You have to keep your laptop on the entire time so people can access your website. Instead, we want a web server, which, as the name suggests, serves files and specializes in serving files to browsers somewhere in the world that I don't have to worry about. It's not on my computer. Somebody owns that machine. Somebody owns that computer. And it's on all the time so that whenever we go to a website or a link, it's always going to be running and sending those files out. So we're finally going to get back to Python here. Because what we want to do is do something more sophisticated than just having these files on our machine. Instead, we want to build a real server using Python that we can deploy so that people can access our website anywhere in the world. Now, you might still be confused. This whole process might not make complete sense to you because we're just getting started. But don't worry, by the end of it all, it's all going to make sense. So let's forget about the browser for now and get into building a real server. Something more sophisticated than what we've done up until now, which is just a folder with these 3 files, and we just double click on index.html. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.